All right, guys. So this week we're going to learn how to create an entity relationship diagram, or what we call it, an ERD. And then we're going to forward engineer it into a database schema and import data into that database schema. And then I'll show you how to back it up and restore it. So what do you need to prepare before you start working on your ERD? So I have this Excel file with data about Netflix shows and movies. It's not accurate. I mean, the shows are real, but I'm just using this data set as an example. I will use it when we import data into our database. But what I need right now is just look at the names of the columns and names of our tables. So this one is Netflix media, which lists 15 different pieces of media. So Stranger Things, Wednesday, The Crown, and so on. So let's start with the main table. And I'm going to call it Netflix media. And the way you create new columns is just double clicking under column, and I'll give this table its primary key. So it automatically marks the first column as a primary key. That's what PK stands for, primary key. And the double N stands for not null. And we definitely want our primary key not to be null. And I think it's also a good idea to mark auto incremented, the AI. It means that whenever you insert records into this table, it will automatically generate the primary keys just by adding one to the previous primary key, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. All right. So the columns in this table, let's just focus on the attributes that are not related to other tables, because rating ID, type ID, director ID, country ID, and company ID, those are foreign keys, and we'll need to create those tables first before we make the connections. So let's just do title, date added, and release here for now. And as you can see, Workbench wants to know the data type of each column. So I think using varchar 45 for title should be fine. Date added, the name implies that it's a datetime data type. And release here, same thing, datetime. And we probably want them not to be null as well. Okay, let's stop here for now and add the other tables. So again, you have to click this table icon and just click wherever. And I'm gonna let's do media type table next. The media type ID already automatically marks PK and NN for us. That's good. And we'll do a auto increment as well. And this table will have only two attributes, the primary key and the main attribute, media type. So what is media type? It's just an attribute that tells us whether this piece of media is a TV show or a movie. That's all. Only two possible values. Now, for the project deliverables, I might ask you to come up with at least 15 rows for each table. There's an exception to this rule. It's when you have tables where the range of potential values is limited, and it could be less than 15. So for those kind of tables like this one, you don't have to follow that rule, but the range of potential values is limitless. So we still have to follow the 15 row requirement for this table. And let's go back to our ERD. Let's make media type not null. I think 45 should be good. I mean, it might be too much, but it's fine. And let's create our first connection. So the way we create this relationship is we have to choose one of these options. Most of the time, we're only going to use either this one, the 1 to n, or the N to M, which represents many to many. But right now we're doing one to many. So we click that and we click Netflix media and then media type. And that's what it's going to look like. So since media type has a one to many relationship with Netflix media, we want to make sure that this arrow is pointing towards the many side. So it starts from the one side. It points towards the many side. All right, let's do next table. We're gonna do director. Let's see what attributes, what columns we have in this table. So it's just director ID, primary key, first name, last name. And we want those to be not null. And let's create the relationship again. So for this database, we're assuming that a show or a movie can only have one director, but a director can direct multiple shows or movies. Director is going to have a one-to-many relationship with Netflix media. So we're going to start from the many side and finish with the one side. And let me rearrange this so it's easier to see. So you see that by creating these connections, the foreign keys are automatically generated and automatically named based on the name of the table, where it came from, and the name of the primary key in that table. So media type underscore media type ID. That's where this name came from. Director underscore director ID. So next we have a company table with company ID and company, country ID and country, rating ID and rating. So these are pretty easy. Genre ID and genre. Let's do these 4 tables real quick. All right. So we're almost done. We just need one more table, which is a linking table that connects the Netflix media table and the genre table. So what does the linking table look like? It's just a combination of primary keys, or in this case, it's foreign keys. It's just 30 combinations of individual shows and movies and their respective genres. The fact that there's a linking table means that we allow a piece of media to have more than one genre. And of course, the same genre can describe different movies and shows. So how do you create this kind of table in ERD? So here's the thing. I created this connection too soon, so I'm going to delete it. I want to redo it. Instead of using the 1 to n arrow for a many to many relationship, I want to use this arrow, the n to m. So click that, and it doesn't matter which direction you go. You can start anywhere. I'm going to start with the genre table and finish with Netflix media. And ta-da, a new table just popped up. So let me rearrange this. We created a many-to-many relationship between genre table and Netflix media table. And what Workbench did was create a table that takes the primary key from both tables. So the genre ID from genre table and media ID from the media table. And you can see that it's marked as foreign keys with this key kind of looking icon. It automatically named this table genre has Netflix media. It was generated automatically. I mean, you can rename it if you want. I'm gonna rename it media genres just to be consistent with what we had in Excel file. And you also want to make sure the automatically generated foreign keys match the column names that you have in your sample data. Here's just named rating ID, type ID, director ID. I should probably change those. And don't forget about your linking table. All right. I think everything should be matching the Excel file now. It's very important. It's going to be important when we actually import data from the Excel file into our database. So we're pretty much done. Make sure that when you have one-to-many relationship, you use this dotted line, one-to-n line. And when you have a many-to-many relationship, you use this solid line, n-to-m. What's the difference between a dotted line and a solid line? Solid lines are usually, if not always, used only for linking tables, while for the rest of the connections, we want to use dotted lines. Dotted lines basically mean that there's a connection between two tables, but none of them are a child table of the other table. So rating or Netflix Media. Netflix Media is not a child table of ratings. Netflix Media can exist on its own without having the rating ID. But the media genres, if you remove one of the foreign keys, it's not going to be valid anymore. It needs both foreign keys in order to exist. That's why we represent the line, the connection differently. And you also want to make sure that your ERD is named something that's relevant to your database, because you want to use a name that gives people a good idea of what your database is about. So now we have created an entity relationship diagram. The next step is to forward engineer it into a database schema. So watch the next part. Oh, I also need to show you how to save your ERD. So go to File, Netflix, ERD, and you'll see here, Netflix ERD. Sometimes it will produce two files, one that ends with MWB and the other one ends with BAK or MWB.BAK. So disregard the other one. We only care about the one that ends with MWB. That's the one that you should be sharing with your teammates and your instructors.